So if you look at the evolution of the web, over the last 15 years, the internet has evolved from being kind of like TV, kind of like radio, kind of like newspapers, into its own identity. And I still laugh whenever I hear people talk about it as new media. It's not new anymore. We've been doing it for 15 years. Really, the web's kind of moved through three sort of stages of evolution. And I hate calling them Web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, but it just kind of helps us put a bit of a bookmark on what we're talking about tonight. Really, Web 1 mimicked broadcast media. In its early days, the web really just set out to do what broadcast media did, but in its own way. It was like newspapers selling banner advertising. Like, it tried to be like TV and show streaming radio. It tried to be like radio and show streaming radio. And it never really got beyond, it just kind of just tried to be like the thing that came before it. The same way that TV became radio with pictures. And to an extent, TV is still radio with pictures, because TV is still sold in 30-second spots, the same way radio was before TV came along. And even if you look at the web today and the way we sell advertising in banner units, this is very much influenced by the way newspaper advertising was sold. And we still haven't really evolved beyond that, with the exception of maybe Google AdWords. So what you're going to start to see in the future is what Google have termed the social graph. And so what they're going to do is that if you look here, you see this is like a little universe of different websites. And you've got people A, B, C, D, and E. And they're all floating around on different websites. And some people have connections, for example, here, or these people might have a connection there, but not all the connections are made. But what's going to happen in the future is if you look at somebody like Brad, Brad's got his homepage, and based on his homepage, Brad has connected, for example, to Jane via his live journal. But Jane also has another account on Twitter. So what happens then is that when Brad goes on and joins Twitter, he then understands that Jane also has an account on Twitter, making it easy for them to close that loop and take that relationship and extend it to another social networking platform. So what you're going to start to see in the future is things like where you're going to connect to your friends, and then when you go to Amazon.com and you're reading a book review, the first book review you'll see is the one written by somebody who actually knows you. Meanwhile, back in the Middle East, a lot of the problem with a lot of these things is that we talk about all these wonderful things happening in the future, and unfortunately we here in the Middle East are still kind of bogged down in a lot of the things we're doing. It was very encouraging actually talking to some of the guys, trying to find out about some of the great things that are happening in Qatar in terms of intellectual property development, but in general we still haven't really moved beyond flashy banners in the Middle East. We've kind of looked at some statistics earlier, so I'll jump over these. But what I wanted to show you is the actual growth of online advertising spend. And what you'll see is that between 2000 and 2007, the amount of money being spent online in terms of marketing on the web in the region has grown from 1.5 million in 2000 to 34.6 million in 2007. So what you see, it is a very healthy market, and it is growing, and it is developing, and the future does look very bright for it. You can also see that the ad spend growth has kind of moved up overall within the region, but what you can still see is that really, unfortunately, between 2004 and 2007, the percentage share of online media in terms of the internet spend versus the overall spend is still less than 1%. So at the moment in 2007, even though we're spending this mind-boggling amount of $34.6 million, realistically, it's only 0.67% of all the money that's being spent online in the Middle East, which is shocking, because what you're starting to see now is what's called the attention gap, where the number of people spending time online is growing exponentially, and the percentage of consumers' time is being spent on the web is growing, but the amount of money being spent on the web in terms of reaching those consumers isn't, and we're still stuck in our pan-Arab TV and our outdoor and our newspapers and our radio, and there's this massive segment of our population that doesn't read newspapers anymore, that doesn't watch pan-Arab TV anymore, that's being completely neglected by regional brands. So I was showing you earlier the darlings of the industry, and here's where they stand in the UAE. Qatar actually has a much more open internet connection than the UAE does, but here's where they stand for me in the UAE. Flickr is blocked sometimes. Skype is totally blocked. Facebook could be blocked soon. MySpace, some parts are blocked. Dig is okay, and some parts of YouTube are blocked. So what you see is that while everyone's talking about these darlings of the industry and what they represent for the future of the internet and everything else, we in our part of the world are still not particularly compatible with this whole concept of free speech and open communication, anybody saying whatever they want and doing whatever they want whenever. We actually built a social networking portal for Nestle about 2 years ago, before the Facebook craze, to try to capitalize on social networking. And it was actually done against the background of the Danish cartoons. And they said, of course, at the time, we must be very careful about what we do. So nothing goes online without it being moderated. And they said, we have all these employees and we're going to moderate it. Do you know how long it took them to moderate the first comment that was posted on their social networking portal? 35 days. Because we built it and everybody got excited. And then marketing manager went, I'm in charge of marketing. And sales manager went, I'm in charge of sales. and nobody wanted to deal with it. So it took 35 days for the first comment to actually be moderated on the website. And then they came back to me 36 days later and said, why isn't my website working? And the answer was pretty evident. So if you are going to use pre-moderation, you have to be ready to do it pretty darn quick. Another campaign that I'd like to show you, and this is a pre-moderation campaign, is what we did for Nakheel last year for Ramadan. The challenge last year was rather than simply spread the word about the festive season and share good wishes, Nakheel wanted to develop a campaign that was relevant and different and new. And when they said to us, what can we do that's different? I said, well, take all the money you're going to waste on cards that are just going to go in the garbage and put that online. So the objective was to allow people to empower them to actually do something good in just 20 seconds. So this was achieved via a microsite where people were able to share their good wishes with others all over the world. And for every wish made on the website, Nakheel gave 10 dirhams to Beit al-Khair, which is a non-profit humanitarian society based in the UAE. And it was incredible. So on the website, people could enter their wishes, which were then displayed to the public on the website as a star in the sky. And as the number of wishes grew, so did the number of stars in the sky, creating a vast galaxy of inspiration for visitors to the website. So every new visitor to the site saw how much was going on and then got inspired to make their own wish. And so this is what the website looks like. And so what you can see here in the black screen is every one of these stars was actually a star in the sky. So for example, this one says, I wish everyone a wonderful Ramadan. And by and large, 99% of the wishes are actually very sweet and very positive. I wish to marry my love. I wish for world peace. I wish cars ran on love instead of petrol, and a couple of other things. Very sweet and a huge success. And we even built a Facebook application for it where people could install this and then make wishes directly from within their actual Facebook platform. So trying to capitalize on social networking to use it in this way. So that went really well. But what we had to do is we had to pre-moderate it because obviously had Nakheel's name on it, and they were very concerned about people abusing it to say the wrong things. Just to show you some of the things that people wrote that didn't quite make it to the homepage. I wish all the kuffar become Muslims in Ramadan. I wish Nakheel would finish my house on time. I wish Dubai stopped using slave labor. And what we actually did with them was we actually employed a college student who worked full-time from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day just moderating, because obviously the first thing people do is you make a wish and then you try to find it so you can tell your friends about it. So what we had is we had one young boy on his Christmas holidays who just did that all day. And then even us within the agency, everybody on their lunch breaks when they had 5 minutes, everybody was going online and just moderating wishes and moderating comments just to get them up as quickly as possible. And it was a wonderful campaign, and we're doing it again in a week, bigger and better, by the way. So the results, and this campaign drew in 39,000 wishes in total, which amounted to almost 400,000 dirhams worth of donations from around the world. The Facebook group drew in 671 wishes. Not a huge amount, but we tried. And we tried to be innovative, and Nakheel did something that nobody else had done. We built the first Facebook application in the Middle East. But furthermore, the campaign generated a huge amount of interest from press and media alike, with coverage in newspapers, national television, and the radio. And I would encourage all of you to go to ramadan.nakheel.com on the first day of Ramadan and see the wonderful new thing we've created for this year. So in summary, I've put together 5 rules for you to live by in terms of Web 2.0 in this brave new era. Number 1, sense. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean you need to. Moderation. Think about how you're going to moderate your 2.0 initiative and how will you avoid or minimize the risk. I've also thrown in, as a last thing, 10 other things to keep in mind about online marketing. These may spur further discussions later on tonight. Number 1, advertise offline. What we learned from the NBC event was that if you do advertise on TV, it does work, and you're spending so much more money offline, so try to involve the web wherever you can. 2, give the web the respect it deserves. For so many of you now, the internet is becoming the most important sales channel you have. Use it and think about it and invest in it the way you should as your most important storefront. Think beyond the first visit. Beyond people initially coming to your website, how will you get them to come back to your website? How will you compel them through registrations, through offers, and through ongoing innovations? Help your customers access your website on their terms. More and more you're seeing the rise of things like iPhones. I've seen so many iPhones around the room today. Blackberries, things with RSS readers. So people aren't just accessing the web through the honest-to-God computer browser anymore. So find ways to make it easy for them to access your information. Use unconventional channels. Look at things like Dig, look at the Facebooks, and don't just go for the traditional portals. Put yourself in places with lots of traffic. Associate yourself with these big websites. Sponsor them, sponsor channels, drive traffic, drive interest. Make your website do something no other sales channel can do. Emirates Airline, for example, has offers on their website you can only get online. And it continues to drive people back to the website because of that. think of your website all the time. With every campaign you do, with every business initiative you do, think, where does the web fit into this? Where does my website fit into all of this? Number 9, use search engine optimization and search engine marketing to find a healthy balance. And number 10, work with the pros. Call me. So thank you very much.